שאנחנו בניהם ובנוסיהם, אחים יחוסיהם, נוברים צדוקו ביד הסקורס נשמו אסיים. וגני
Hello, and a very, very warm welcome to you all to this evening of music and song. And I'm Adrienne to guide us through our evening. Normally, people who've been before, you'll know that we meet in that lovely studio room at the Depot Cinema, but because of lockdown they've had to close. So we're meeting instead in the upstairs room of my little flat in Brighton, because it's the warmest room in the house. Now the music that we heard as we gathered was the El Mali Rachamim, which was sung by Shalom Katz, and it's a Jewish song for the dead, which he recorded specifically at a time when the camps had been liberated, specifically Auschwitz, which is what gives it its potency and its power. So we're going to begin the evening very soon, but before we do, I want to fast forward to the end of the evening, in which we are going to hold a vigil like the one, for those of you that were there, that we held in Lewes on the bridge. It was a candlelit vigil, so I've got my candle already. It's seen me through a lot of ceremonies, that candle. And we're very lucky that Geoffrey Craig, who is a member of our Holocaust Day Memorial group in Lewes, is going to recite the Kaddish for us, which he did on the bridge that day, after which we want to hold a minute's silence before I then wind everything up and say thank you and goodbye, as well as giving you a link to make donations to Lozras, which is a title I very often get wrong, but it's the Lewes organisation for refugees and asylum seekers. Thank you. And every year we usually have big plastic buckets as you leave the room, and you've been incredibly generous in the past. So this is another opportunity for you to make a donation to them if you wish at the end. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to start with a song, and it's from my dear friend Duncan Campbell. Now he's a regular really with Holocaust Memorial Day group, and last year you may remember him with his partner Stella, his musical partner, welcomed us into that big musical evening. And because of lockdown they aren't able to meet, but he sent me a solo song, a Nick Cave song, and he sent me this introduction which I'm going to read to you now from Duncan. My mother died a few years back in her 96th year. The nurse caring for her telephoned me a few days before she died to tell me that she was delighting all the staff with her enthusiastic and warm greeting of a continuous train of non-existent visitors. People she'd clearly known and loved in her lifetime. I remember thinking back then that in our bleakest moments, providing we're sentient and we have some thinking capacity left to us, that nothing can take away from us our precious memories, and that these can be a light in our darkness. I've chosen this song because for me it seems to be just that. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Duncan Campbell is going to sing Into My Arms by Nick Cave.
I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you, or not to touch a hair on your head, leave you just as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. And I don't believe in the existence of angels, but looking at you now, I wonder if that's true. But if I did, I would summon them together. And ask them to watch over you. Both to each burn a candle for you, to make bright and clear your path, and to walk like Christ in grace and love and guide you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. But I believe in love, and I know you do too. And I believe in some kind of path, that we can walk down, me and you. So keep your candles burning, make a journey bright and clear, that you'll keep returning always and forevermore. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms.
Thank you, Duncan, for that. It's one of my favourite songs, actually. We're going to have a poem now, and one of the strange things about going virtual this year means that we can accept contributions from all sorts of different areas of the world. So this first one actually comes from Australia, from my friend Daphne. Please don't ask me to pronounce her surname because it's Greek and I can't pronounce it. But she sent me this lovely poem about looking for the green. Daphne.
Last year, as the summer and the new year started, we had these devastating fires here in Australia. It felt awful, like the end of the world. And Holocaust, the meaning of the word is burned down to the ground. But there is hope. So here's a poem to commemorate Holocaust Day, but with a hopeful twist. So, surfacing. Joyful green is making a comeback somewhere, right now. In the forests that burn down, in discarded pots and abandoned gardens, green tokens are sprouting, signs and portents bursting through tarmac and concrete, as surely as green covers the graves of men who once were kings. Remember the green in gratitude and joy. There is a song sung this very minute somewhere, right now. Make it yours. In gratitude and joy and sorrow, let your heart sing along, or better still, belt it out. In hope and defiance, in love and in love, belt it out. Caress the air like the birds do. Puncture the shadow like new flowers do. Come up for air, trusting that the sun and the rain shall be there to meet you, like the new grass trusts. There is an embrace opening its arms there somewhere, everywhere, this minute. Embrace and be embraced in love and reverence, joy and gratitude. For we are all in that embrace, as the earth and the sky and the light embrace us. May the blessings multiply. May the shadows give us shelter in the middle of the day as we walk. In reverence, gratitude, and joy, may this, my prayer, song of my heart, come to pass. Somewhere, my love, green-tipped arrows are announcing the revolution. Somewhere, hope sings.
Thank you, Daphne, for the poem and for the reminder to, always look for the green, the new shoot, the promise of a new beginning in however dark things seem. Staying with that theme of nature and greenness, our lovely local songstress, Pam Hewitt, who's well known to all of you in Lewes, I'm sure, sent me this marvellous contribution, and she's put together some film of beautiful leaves in the sunshine. It reminds us of that lovely spring and summer that we enjoyed, together with a song I'd totally forgotten about, Country Boy. So let's turn over now to Pam Hewitt and Country Boy.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea. A little shy and sad a while, but very wise was he. And then one day, one magic day came my way, and as we spoke of many things, rules and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
Thanks, Pam. As always, perfect. And a really nice reminder of that song, which I'd almost forgotten existed, and it really is a lovely song, so thank you. The next item is about a singer that I'd never heard of, and she's called Shyall Rosenthal. Maybe some of you have heard of her, but I found her story on YouTube and her journey from the ghetto then on to a brilliant career before she died. So I thought she was the perfect example of bringing light to the dark, as you'll see from her story, and then she just carried on doing that, and it's a fabulous story. So here it is, followed by a song so that you can actually hear her beautiful voice. Shyall Rosenthal.
Jetzt sitzt auf am Arme, wiegen die Kirchen zum Schloss. Wie a Fass ist am Arme, hüten die Kirchen sich so. Mit die Nacht an schwarzen Chmurne, in der Reusen wojen mit der Wind. Sitzt am Alles bei dein Vigil, sitzt am Alles und wiegt ihr Kind. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen Mames Nest und Ruhe und Schlaf. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen dem Waschitter von die Schau. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen Mames Nest und Ruhe und Schlaf. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen dem Waschitter von die Schau. Wie viel heiße Zeit unserer Rinnen von ihr Reuderau. Wie viel Silber fett im Wern, nie der Zeit in Mames Kopf. In wenn das Kind wird krank von Liebe, wie kann Mama Liebe sein? Wie kann Mama bei dein Vigil und murmel par dein Käppele soll mir nur sein. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen Mames Nest und Ruhmschlaf. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen dem Waschitter von die Schau. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen Mames Nest und Ruhmschlaf. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen dem Waschitter von die Schau. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen Mames Nest und Ruhmschlaf. Wachsen Kinder und vergessen dem Waschitter.
Shyall Rosenthal. It amazes me how people can go through such dreadful experiences and come out as a burning, shining light and example to other people and keep on giving in that way. And she's a great example of that. So I'm pleased I found that. Right, I'm looking at my notes. Next is another poem from an old friend of mine, in both terms of the word, Emmanuel Williams, who lives in California. And he sent me this poem, and it's called The Peace Birds. So, over to Emmanuel Williams.
Peace Birds by Emmanuel Williams. When shells shriek through the air and smash people's homes and shatter the cups on the table and scorch the eyes of dollies and teddies and bury kittens and toothpaste and family photos in a tumble of rubble. When war opens its huge red mouth and bellows at the sky, it is time to ask for the peace birds to come. They fly with the power of prayer. They fly with the power of love. If there are flocks of them, if there are millions of them. Then war will close its huge red mouth and shrink and shrink and turn into a butterfly dancing in the sun.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And if anyone out there is looking for a voice-over artist, I can recommend Emmanuel, who has a really deep, resonant voice. Emmanuel, thanks, darling. Well, one of the benefits of being virtual this year is that we can include a full-blown choir, which we couldn't possibly have fitted into our little room at the depot. And those of you who came to it will remember this choir from our musical evening last Saturday. And the musical director is the fabulous Paulina Shepherd, who's very, very kindly sent me a video of her chutzpah choir, and they're singing Shalom Lid, which is a Yiddish song of peace. So Paulina Shepherd, thank you. Wasn't that marvellous to hear all those voices singing together? So thanks again, Paulina, for that. To the word Holocaust, we tend to think of it as the Jewish Holocaust, and that, of course, was the major one. But there was another Holocaust which we commemorated last year, and that's the Roma Holocaust, sometimes called the Forgotten Holocaust, because these people were persecuted and slaughtered in their thousands by the Nazis, who didn't like them. They had their own ways and customs. They didn't mix. They couldn't be dominated in that way. So many of them were taken into the woods and just shot, and some were sent to the death camps. I happened to find this very short film of two survivors of that Holocaust as they talked to one another about their experiences, but I follow it very quickly now. I must look at my notes to get this man's name right. He's called Tarif de Hadoukus, and I'm reading that out because I hadn't heard of him and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but none of that matters when you hear him play his Roma fiddle. It's fantastically uplifting. So here's both the sadness of the experience but also the joy of that spirit that has come through all of that sadness and horror to produce music like this. Okay, the Roma Holocaust.
70 years ago, Romanian military official Ion Antonescu ordered thousands of Roma people to concentration camps. More than 11,000 of them died. Marin Safta and George Stanner both survived the ordeal, but its memory still haunts them today.
They stopped us. We were travelling with our horse and cart. They told us they would take us somewhere, where we would get some land.
When we were taken, I was in the middle of washing my feet to go to school. But they ordered us to leave. I never went to school. I don't know how to read and write.
Thousands were killed by famine, illness and forced labour. Marin lost his mother and brother in Transnistria. It was here that between 300 and 400,000 Romanian and Ukrainian Jews were killed. United by the same nightmare, George and Marin, who never knew each other, were brought together years later when their children married. Occasionally they talk about their shared experience.
God made us survive what happened and return to our country. Sometimes we both think about what happened, the distress we were in, broken, sad, and covered in lice and scabies.
These testimonies are among the only memories that remain, as few written records have been kept by the Roma community, but many survivors have remained silent.
It was shameful to say you were sent to the concentration camps. Better to keep quiet about it. Like in the case of rape, a woman who is raped will not tell anyone about what happened to her. She needs someone to help her to talk about it.
70 years later, survivors like George and Marin are a reminder of the ordeal that the Roma people and thousands of others suffered at the hands of the Nazis.
Hollywood de la Cléjean, bravo. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that amazing? Someone had written in the comments underneath, give that man a Stradivarius, but honestly, I don't think even with the Stradivarius it would have sounded any better. Amazing. Well, we're going more local now. We're coming to Brighton, which is my home as well, and my dear friend Paul Diello, who is, we're members of the same choir, but he's also a really brilliant singer and songwriter. He writes his own material, and so he has contributed this song for us, Paul Diello.
I'm turning teardrops into puddles, turning puddles into seas. I walk in with weighted pockets until I can no longer breathe. I'm turning anguish into blankness, turning blankness into fun. So I crush it into powder, and then I rub it round my gum. Something into nothing, nothing into something. I'm turning sadness into laughter. Oh, and laughter into wine. What's in my mind? Turning fiction into memories, memories into scars. I'm tattooing over on my body parts. Something into nothing, nothing into something, something into nothing.
Thanks, Paul. beautiful as always. And at the risk of causing huge embarrassment to him, I think I'd like to mention that he also edited this entire show together. It was all little bits and pieces, and he put it all together so that we could watch it together tonight. So thanks for that, Paul. Next is a story told by a survivor called Klein, and I'll leave it to him to tell, but the title of it is A German Saved My Life. Klein.
Sometimes late 1944, one morning when we are standing in attention to be counted, young prisoners are always in the front row. SS sergeant stops 2 meters in front of me and says, "Who amongst you young prisoners speak German?" I took it in gymnasium in high school. One of those things when your brain is like a computer and you try to, in a split second, weigh the consequences. Okay, why should they take one person, one prisoner out if they can kill 100? So maybe there must be something good. Sure enough, he takes me to the gate of the camp. There is a man in civilian clothing. I stand in attention, take off my hat, and tell him my prisoner number. And he actually introduces himself. He says, "I am Herr so-and-so. I'm a civilian engineer. I'm attached to this camp, and I'm going to be surveying the future roads for 2 weeks. I need somebody to carry some of my equipment because I can do it by myself. You are going to be carrying the wooden plank with the numbers on it." And he has the tripod with his instrument and his books, and he tells me, "Stand over here." I stand there with the wooden plank. I'm on vacation. Beautiful area. It reminded me when I was a Boy Scout going to jamborees in areas like this. I could escape for a couple of minutes. And then he beckons me when he makes his notes, and I stand there and we do this. Great, no slave labor. Next morning, the first thing he says to me is, "I know what terrible situation you people are in. What is he talking about? He's a German. He is one of the people that put me in this terrible situation. Is he kidding me? Is he trying to be smart or whatever?" But then the next thing he says, "I am going to bring you back to join your work party." Excuse me, because I usually break down. A half hour early to join up your work party to march back to the camp. I'm going to point to the left. There's a barracks. This is where the SS guards and civilian German engineers and so on have their lunch. This is going to be way past lunchtime. You don't have to worry. Go in, go to the far corner, look under the bench. Piece of meat, piece of cheese, a real piece of bread, a little cup of milk. I drink the milk, I put the rest in my pocket to take it back to share with. I always hooked up with some young prisoners for moral support, and I thank him. And this one for 2 weeks. I credit this man with saving my life. Against all odds, this man, a real human being, decided that he's going to help another human being in dire need. If a guard would have seen him, an SS guard would have seen him, he could have wound up in the same camp where I was. Yet he did this for 2 weeks. And this was really not only fantastic that I was able to replenish my system, because I was always a skinny kid, but now I was a healthy skinny kid, and I was able to continue. I had no idea whether I'm going to be in the camps for 2 months or 2 years or whatever. But not only was that fantastic physically, but mentally it was such a lift to know that there are good people on this earth. What a chance he took.
Isn't that an amazing story? Very moving. And it just goes to show that you don't always know where your help is coming from. And in everything, in everywhere, in every group of people, there are good people who are humane and willing to help. So that's a lovely story there. Along the same lines, I'm sure that everyone's heard of Sir Nicholas Winton, who unfortunately died about 5 years ago, I think it was now. And unlike the celebrities of today, who are constantly virtue signalling, this man did an amazing job of rescuing children from the Nazis. And all the evidence of that he left hidden in a suitcase in the attic. So he certainly wasn't looking for fame and glory. So it's a very, very short film now in commemoration of him and his work and all the children that he saved. So Nicholas Winton.
There are some stories which we're not only an audience to, but may become their participants. Nicky's story came out by accident after this scrapbook surfaced after gathering dust for decades. Once it did, though, it set about a whole chain of incredible events. That's me before I left for England. But until 1988, I had no idea who had rescued me from all but certain death. It was this old man who had saved my life and that of hundreds of others in the Second World War. Yet for 50 years, we knew nothing about him.
4 children. This is his scrapbook. There are all kinds of fascinating pictures in it. Perhaps you can see, this is a picture of Nicholas Winton himself with one of the children he rescued. If you look at the very back of this scrapbook, fascinating things in it, all the letters. But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight. Hello, Vera. And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton. Hello.
I wore this around my neck, and this is the actual pass that we were given to come to England, and I'm another of the children that you saved.
Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
Everybody has to learn to live with everybody else, regardless of creed or religion.
I never thought what I did 70 years ago was going to have such a big impact as apparently it has. And if it has now got a story which helps people to live for the future, well, that will be an added bonus.
What a wonderful way to end the evening. We'll almost end the evening. Just to add that there is a longer film about Nicholas Winton in which young people have read and understood his story, and that's inspired them to go on and do work of their own in helping people less fortunate or helping refugees or whatever they've decided to do. And at the end, he stood up and they all stood up with their phones, like this, saying, I've done something because I was so inspired by you. It's a lovely image, but it was a very long film, but it was lovely to see that light in the dark brought by Nicholas and Winton and his story. So we are almost at the close of the evening now. And as I said at the beginning, it's time now for our vigil. So I've already lit my candles, so I'll just give you a few moments to get yours and light it in readiness. I place it on my table. Before I hand you over to Geoffrey Craig, who has very kindly recorded the Kaddish for us, which he's going to speak or recite for us with bowed heads. We do remember, as he points out, all the victims of all the Holocausts in the whole world over all the years. And after that, we're going to hold a minute's silence. And when that's over, I'll pop back in again to say thank you and farewell and to give you the details for the donation. So, Geoffrey.
Adrienne has asked me to recite the mourners' Kaddish for all those murdered in the Holocaust, and sadly, in the seemingly never-ending subsequent and more recent genocides. The Kaddish is always spoken. It is a prayer to God and ongoing life. So with bowed head, I'm now going to recite the Kaddish. Yiskadal v'yiskadesh shomei rabah, ba'alma di v'riukirutei, b'yamlich makotei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei di kol beis Yisrael, b'gala uv'izman, kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shomei rabah mevorach, la'alam almeya almaya. Yisbarach v'yistabach, v'yisrapam v'yisnomam v'yisnaseh v'yisardar v'yisaleh v'yisalal. Shemei di kudsha barich hu. Le'elah min kol berichaso v'shiroso, tishbachoso v'nechemaso, diamaran ba'alma v'imru omein. Yehei shalama rama min shomaya. V'chayim oleinu v'olkil Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei shalom. Oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Jeffrey, very much. So, that really is the end, except for me to say thank you so much for joining us. Huge thanks to all the people who sent in contributions to the evening. Thanks to the Lewes Holocaust Memorial Day group, who are an amazing group of people, very supportive, incredibly hardworking in keeping this momentum of this commemoration going year after year after year. So thank you to them. Before we go though, just to remind you that we have a donations button because we don't have our lovely plastic buckets to make donations to Los Ras. So that will be at the bottom there. So if you feel moved to make a donation, that would be absolutely wonderful, because of course it's all done voluntarily, and the refugee problem has not gone away. It will not go away. It's continuous. So they really need support, and bless them for the work that they're doing. However, I thought we could go out on, getting my notes again, a slightly higher note with some nice klezmer. Now, I found this amazing shot, and it's of Ishtak. Can you believe it? Ishtak Perlman. Hell, I'm ready for a glass of wine, I think. It's Ishtak Perlman playing Klezmer amazingly with a group of friends, I assume they are, out in the open air. And I thought it would just send us back into the night with lighter hearts. So Ishtak Perlman playing Klezmer for us. Bye-bye. Bless you all. Stay safe. Please stay safe. And we'll see you next year.
We'll sing the first verse. We've done it. Nice. Go ahead, just sing the first verse.
En ik kan hem niet vergessen. Oh, ik kan niet vergessen, ik kan hem niet vergessen.
That was the first verse. This is the second. Not teetle, 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 fiddle.
Oi, teetle, 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 teetle. Oi, spiel der Passer sein Oisens Lied in Basarabie, en een Pastor für sein Trauer. Oh, für den Pastor für sein Trauer, für den Pastor für sein Trauer.